Hey, are you guys ready to elevate your DIY skills? Well, of course you are. That's why you're here. I'm so excited to announce the HouseCalls Premium Ad-Free Membership. What is that? Well, you get a bunch of great stuff. You get exclusive member-only content. You can join me for live streams. We've got exclusive contests, sweepstakes, of course, easy-to-follow videos as well. Now, we've got a free 7-day trial. Just go to members.housecallsdiy.com.
We make things. We use our hands, minds, and machines to build, to fix, to improve. We're known as do-it-yourselfers, home improvement fans, fix-it fanatics, inventors. At our core, though, we're all makers. So let's jump in and make something. Hi, I'm Ron Hazelton. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to build one of my favorite outdoor structures, an arched garden arbor. Now, arbors have a graceful form that adds a pleasing touch to just about any yard. They can also provide shaded seating, act as a focal point for an outdoor space, or, as in this case, create an inviting passageway. Then I'll show you several ways to cut multiple pieces of wood to precisely the same length, and introduce you to one of my favorite glues. Well, I'm on my way to Apple Valley, Minnesota. Now, Ernie and Dana Vaughter want to build a garden arbor, so I'm going to give them a hand. And why did you guys decide on this spot? I mean, I think it's a good spot, but is there any particular reason here?
Well, you know, we both like to garden, obviously, but we also have our ways. So this is Dana's garden, and this is my garden, and I don't know that this spot will ever be filled if it was just left to us in our gardens.
I think it's perfect. It is sort of like a passageway.
Yep.
From this lawn over here to this one. It's also almost really defined by your flower beds. Well, here's the sketch. The arbor will be open on the sides except for a pair of benches looking out on both gardens. It will be topped by a gracefully curved, semi-open canopy.
I think it's perfect.
This is a great way to start. We've begun to come together already, haven't we?
It's working.
We use 2x4s to experiment with the orientation of the arbor, determining whether we want it angled more toward the backyard or toward the house. Then we decide how wide we'd like it. I think you're probably looking at a path with the benches because they're not really wide seats.
Oh,
maybe
that's
like
plenty.
3.5 feet. Okay.
Yep.
Traditionally, arbors are a little wider than they are deep. I guess what I would suggest is that maybe we bring this up a little bit, so maybe it's 6 wide by 5 deep to give us that proportion.
Okay, as long as there's enough room to sit on the benches, I think that would look good.
There will be. This won't affect the room on the... Oh, you mean side by side?
Right.
Yeah. You'll have 5 feet. Turn around.
Does that mean you'll sit next to me on one of the benches?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Thanks.
No, you'll have room to spare.
I appreciate that.
With an agreement on layout, we use framing squares to make sure the corners are a perfect 90 degrees. Then we mark them with chalk and remove the 2x4s. Now, at each corner here, we've got to dig a post hole. And I understand it gets kind of cold here.
A little bit.
This is Minnesota, after all.
Yep.
We've got to go down 42 inches, 3.5 feet, in order to get below the frost line. Otherwise, the ground could freeze and start pushing the posts up, and that wouldn't be a good thing for an arbor.
And you said we had to dig.
We have to dig. Actually, I've got 2 of these, so we can trade off. Now, we can do it the old-fashioned way with a post hole digger like this, but 3.5 feet's a pretty deep hole. Or we can do it the high-tech way with a power auger. You guys can vote.
Power auger looks kind of cool.
Boy, that was easy. What's the vote again?
Power auger.
Power auger.
We've already checked with the utility companies to make sure there are no underground pipes or cables. So we're clear to bore our holes.
Start her up.
Here we go. As we bore deeper, it helps to lift the auger every few seconds to clear some of the soil.
And down.
Okay. Now, that's about as far as we can go with that auger on there.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is take the engine off,
Yep.
put an extension on here, and go a little deeper.
Sounds good.
Okay. We remove the steel pin holding the power unit to the auger, insert the extension, slide the pin back in, then remount and pin the motor.
Ready?
Go. Up. And down. Finally, after removing the motor and extension, we pull out the soil-packed auger bit. Then bore 3 more holes the same way. Left.
There we go.
Left. And up. Well, our holes are down 42 inches. That wasn't so bad, was it?
I don't
Piece of
know.
cake.
Drenched.
You're not sweating at all.
Now, I'm just going to put a couple inches of rock in here for drainage. We pour crushed rock into the bottoms of all 4 holes. And now we're ready to set our posts. The green-colored pressure-treated lumber prevents future wood rot. After placing the first post, we use a post level to make sure that it's plumb or perfectly vertical. Next, we attach a wooden brace, check the adjacent post for plumb, and attach the opposite end of the brace to it. We repeat this process, bracing all 4 posts at both the bottom and the top. The braces not only keep the post vertical, but also properly spaced. Next, we fill the holes with dry, fast-setting concrete, then add water. No mixing is required. We're going to keep putting the water on until this is saturated, so just kind of a gentle flow. And if it starts cooling up, just turn it off, let it soak back down. As Dana continues to add water to the concrete mix, we repeatedly check the post to make sure it remains perfectly vertical. Toward B?
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. We repeat the process for the remaining posts. As the water soaks into the dry concrete mix, we add more until the level stabilizes at the top. It takes only about half an hour for the concrete to set, and when it does, we remove the braces. All right. All right, that's our last brace. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, well, for lack of a better term, I'll call it cladding. We're going to apply some cedar to this pressure-treated lumber, which goes down into the ground,
Right.
to make it more attractive, to cover up the green lumber here, but also to give these posts some more bulk. They need to. They look too spindly now. So let's go over here. I've got the cedar laid out. We'll start cutting this to length and putting it on.
Okay.
Sounds good.
With 16 boards to cut, 4 for each post, we use a power miter saw. Since they're all the same length, I've set up a stop block, which allows us to cut each board to the same length without having to remeasure. So here's the way this is going to work, guys. I've got a line up here. It's 7 feet that I've carried all the way around on all 4 posts, all right? We first attach 2x4s to the faces of the post using rust-proof screws. Then we attach 2x6s to the sides. Not only does the post look more substantial, it also has some interesting detail. With this part of our job complete, we're ready to move on to a whole new phase of construction. Are you up for something a little adventurous, maybe?
Sure.
A little curve, perhaps?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking a little curve in the end of these might look really nice.
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good.
We can draw it out and you can decide. So here's the way we're going to do that. I'm going to come down this way about 3 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to make a mark there. And I'll readjust my square for 6. I'm going to come down here, make a line at 6. Now I'm going to take a very high-tech piece of curve drawing equipment, namely this bucket,
Okay.
and I'm going to put it right on those 2 marks, and then just trace the outline of this, just like so. And there's our arch. Pleasing to the eye?
That's not, we're going to have to
Sure.
get ourselves one of those.
Yeah.
Special
I could
tools.
arrange for this. Dana cuts the curved end with a jigsaw. Then, after repeating this process on both ends of the beam, we lift the first one into position and screw it to the posts. We install 2 beams to each pair of posts, then trim each post to length with a handsaw. Now we're ready to cut a second set of beams, the 2 arch-shaped ones that will span the front and rear of the arbor. I've got this so you can see it more clearly in this.
Great.
Now, it also has scalloped ends. We have used our bucket right here, or I have to lay those out the same way we did before. Just couldn't find a round object big enough to do this arch.
Okay.
So we're going to use a different method here. Actually what I've done is put some small nails in here. One down here, which is one end of the arch, one right here, which is the center of the arch, or the high part, and then one here, which is the other end. And then we'll take this thin strip of wood, and we're just going to kind of weave it in between the nails like that. It'll bend, and since it's a uniform thickness, it bends fairly consistently.
Ernie and Dana first trace the top of the arch. Then we reposition the wood strip and draw the bottom.
There we go. Now these are the two arches that you guys cut. All I've done is add two stringers in here. And what we've got here is sort of a canopy, if you will, for the arbor. I think it's going to be easier to assemble this here and then set it up as one unit, okay?
All right.
So I pre-drilled some holes down there, Ernie, in the end.
Yep.
Some clearance holes.
Dana and Ernie attach the arched beams to the stringers with screws.
Now to finish up our canopy, we're going to put these slats on here. Let's start right here in the center. I put some marks over there. Do you see them, Ernie?
Yeah, I got them.
Everything centered up? Okay.
Yep.
We attach the slats starting at the center and use spacers to help us maintain a uniform distance between each one. With our canopy now assembled, we lift it up onto the beams, position it, and finally secure it in place by angling a couple of rust-proof screws into each corner. Next, we move back down to ground level in order to install 4 brackets that will support our 2 benches. Each bench seat consists of a pair of 2x6 cedar boards, and once they're screwed down, our arbor is complete.
You know, this is only going to get better with time. Vines coming up the side, the wood kind of graying down a little bit. You see it?
Absolutely.
I would suggest that you put a preservative on here. You don't have to change the color of it, but you want to protect it. You know, I just got one question for you. Are you going to sit here on one side looking at your own garden instead of admiring it, or are you going to look at the other person's garden?
Well, we decided at Switzerland that we could sit on either side,
And even though we might differ on gardening tips, we have one habit in common, and that is at the end of every job, we toast. So cheers to a
Good
job
beer.
well done.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
A Minnesota tradition.
Yeah.
huh?
Absolutely.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
An arbor is an excellent addition to almost any size garden. In small spaces, it allows the garden to expand upward. And in larger yards like this one, it can also be a decorative passageway, a transition from one area to another. For Ernie and Dana, it's both of these things, as well as the marital bridge joining their 2 terrific gardens.
Now, anytime you've got to cut 2 or more pieces of wood to exactly the same length, this is the way you don't want to do it. You don't want to take a tape measure and measure and mark each one, because every time you do this, you can introduce a small error, and in some projects, that can be critical. But here are 4, count them, 4 ways to cut multiple boards to precisely the same length.
Method 1. Measure and mark 1 board, then cut it to length. Write pattern or sample on the cut piece. Now, instead of measuring and marking additional pieces, use the pattern. Make sure the ends are flush and use a sharp pencil for the marking.
Now remember, it's important to use the same pattern every time. If you start changing patterns, you can start changing the length of the wood you're cutting. Now the second way to cut multiple pieces to exactly the same length is to lay them down on a bench top, square up the ends, clamp them together, measure and mark 1 time, and then cut all 4 pieces at once.
Now, if you've got a whole lot of pieces to cut or clamping things together is impractical, here's a third technique using the power miter saw. Clamp a strip of wood to the miter saw fence. I'll call this the auxiliary fence. A 1x4 or a 1x3 is a good size. With the board clamped, cut off the end. Now put the measuring tape on the cut end and measure and mark the length of the boards you want to cut. Place a scrap piece of wood on the mark and clamp it in position. I call this a stop block. Place an oversized piece of stock on the saw table and slide it until the end contacts the stop block. Hold it firmly and make the cut. Any number of pieces can be cut this way with identical results. And finally, here's how to use that same stop block technique on a table saw. In this case, I'll screw the auxiliary fence to the table saw miter gauge. Once it's attached, I cut partially through the auxiliary fence. Then drop the end of the tape into the saw kerf, measure down the fence, mark the finished length of the boards I'm cutting, and clamp on the stop block. Here, I set the workpiece on the table saw, slide it down until it contacts the stop block, hold it securely against the auxiliary fence, and make the cut. Well, you can't get much better than that. 4 ways to make repetitive cuts that are virtually identical. The toughest thing about gluing something like this broken china dish is clamping or holding the pieces together while the glue dries. That's why this is a perfect application for cyanoacrylates. Now, these are sometimes called instant glues. They're very easy to use. In this case, I'm just going to put some glue on this edge here. I'm not going to make any effort to smooth this out. Actually, what I kind of want is a sort of a little bead going here. But I do want it to be continuous because this is going to have to hold liquids. All right. Now that's on. I'm going to press these 2 pieces together. Just hold them, just like this. Now the thing about cyanoacrylates is they come in different thicknesses. Generally speaking, the more coarse or porous the material, the thicker glue you'll want to use. You'll also want to use the thicker glues on plastics. Now this particular one that I'm using takes about 10 to 15 seconds to set up. So I should be able to let go of this and have a repair. Now the truth is I want to wait about 24 hours for this to reach maximum hardness. So before I put this back into use, I'll let it sit on the shelf overnight.
To view today's projects again and countless more, go to HouseCallsDIY.com. Step-by-step home improvement tips when you need them.